My name is Shaul Magid. I'm a professor of Jewish studies at Dartmouth, and I was a senior fellow at the Center for Jewish History in 2016. The project I was working on was a cultural biography of Rabbi Meir Kahana, who was a kind of contemporary Jewish militant rabbi who was the founder of the Jewish Defense League in 1968 in New York, and then when subsequently in the 1970s immigrated to Israel and made a career there, founded a political party, was eventually elected to the Knesset, then was removed from the Knesset because of a racism law that made him and his party illegal. And there really hasn't been a study of him, certainly a full-length study of him. And I was very much at the beginning of that project when I came to the center. One of the things that I found at the center was obviously just a tremendous treasure trove of archival material and some great archivists who were able to kind of lead me through working in archives. And I ended up finding a tremendous amount of archival material on Meir Kahana, the American Jewish Historical Society archives, in the YIVO archives, and a couple of other private archives that were at the center. So really, the book, as it exists now, could not have been written without being at the center and working through those archives. What I found in the archives were some internal Jewish Defense League documents that were not made for not made for publication. Particularly the Jewish Defense League, its aims and purposes from 1969, which was kind of like an internal document that then actually was published in another form, plus a variety of letters that Kahana had written to various people over the course of about 4 or 5 years during the period, the early period of the Jewish Defense League. So I think in terms of stuff that was there, outside of the newspaper articles, there were kind of internal Jewish Defense League documents that I probably couldn't have found elsewhere. One of the interesting questions that I had to deal with at the center was trying to find out whether there were any official Jewish Defense League archives themselves. And apparently, from what I was able to find out, there really aren't any, certainly none that anybody knew about. So I basically, had to use the American Jewish Historical Society, who somebody, and I'm not really sure who, was collecting all this material over a course of about 10 years. And also at YIVO, there were a number of important boxes at YIVO as well. And those documents were indispensable in trying to understand what the nature of the Jewish Defense League was during that time. During the time that I was at the center, I also was asked to give a series of lectures, both on my research, but I did a 4-part series on Jewish radicalism in America from the 1960s through the 1970s, and worked on a number of figures there: Arthur Waskow and Meir Kahana and Yoel Teitelbaum of Satmar. And there was a lot of material that I used from the archives in developing that lecture series as well. The Kahana book, which is the reason that I was offered the fellowship at the center, is complete now, and I said is being read. I'm now working on a book on the political theology of Yoel Teitelbaum of Satmar, which is something that I began working on when I was at the center, just as an aside, and there were a lot of documents, particularly in the YIVO files, for that.